If you open up your email inbox right now, I can practically guarantee what you're going to see.
Oh, yeah. A total mess.
Right. It's just this sea of like robotic, instantly forgettable subject lines, the ones. Things like, your order has been placed.
Yeah. Or you are subscribed.
Exactly. Or my absolute favorite flavor of corporate dread, transaction number 4098-J confirmed.
Ugh, the worst.
It's so bad. These are just digital receipts, right?
Mm.
And our brains are so heavily conditioned to ignore them that we usually just, swipe, delete, or archive them without a single conscious thought.
You don't even register reading them.
No, not at all. But today, we are going on a deep dive into what is basically a hidden gold mine.
It really is. It's this massive, completely untapped reserve of brand loyalty. And the wild part is that it's just hiding in plain sight, inside every single business's automated tech stack.
Yeah. So based on the stack of sources we're looking at today, the mission of this deep dive is to figure out how businesses can take these incredibly boring system-generated receipts and just completely transform them into remarkable experiences.
Right, turning nothing into something.
Exactly. We're looking at how to build instant trust and drive immediate action. Because right now, the vast majority of brands are just leaving serious money and customer retention on the table by treating these emails as an afterthought.
They really are. And, to really grasp the magnitude of that missed opportunity, we have to look at the psychology of the exact millisecond those emails are sent.
The exact millisecond.
Yeah, literally that moment. Think about it from your own perspective as a consumer, right?
Mm.
Right after you take an action online, maybe you're buying a product or handing over your personal email for a newsletter or registering for a masterclass.
Okay, yeah.
In that specific moment, your attention is at its absolute highest peak. Oh, because you just committed. You made a decision, crossed the psychological threshold, and parted with your money or your data. So the brain is hyper alert.
Exactly. That's the crucial mechanism at play here. Your brain is actively seeking cognitive closure. You're sitting there actively wondering, did that work? Did I make a good choice? What actually happens next?
Right, you're looking for validation.
You are. You're incredibly open to forming a lasting impression about the brand you just interacted with. And the profound mistake that most businesses make is treating this hyper-vulnerable moment of peak attention as a mere administrative formality.
Yeah.
They treat it like a functional notification instead of treating it as the critical opening line of a totally new relationship.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I was trying to think of how this dynamic translates into the real world, away from our screens and automated software.
Oh, I love a good real-world analogy. Well, getting a standard robotic confirmation email right after you buy something online, it's essentially like going into a physical boutique, right? You find an amazing product, you get super excited, you walk up and hand the cashier $200.
Okay, tracking with you.
And then the cashier just prints the receipt, hands it to you in dead silence, refuses to make eye contact, and immediately turns their back to you.
Wow, yeah. That captures the friction perfectly. It is entirely anticlimactic.
It's so awkward.
The wind is completely taken out of your sails. And, what's fascinating here is the fundamental psychological difference between a basic confirmation email and a true welcome email.
The silent cashier versus a real welcome.
Exactly. A confirmation email, your silent cashier, it merely verifies an action. It essentially just says to the customer, hey, the database registered your click.
It just halts the momentum.
Right. It completely halts it. A welcome email, on the other hand, harnesses the momentum of that peak attention to forge a real connection. And according to our sources, timing is everything here.
Right. It has to be fast.
Yeah. These emails must be triggered immediately. You have to capture that attention before the dopamine hit of the purchase fades.
Before they open a new browser tab or, get a text message from a friend or just scroll away, you have a window of maybe 30 seconds where they actually care about what you have to say.
The window is incredibly narrow. You really want to meet the user right inside that heightened emotional state, validating their decision the literal second it happens.
Okay, so if standard emails are the silent cashier, what does it actually look like when a company successfully seizes this moment? Because our sources highlight this legendary real-world example, and it completely blew my mind because of how audacious it is.
Oh, the CD Baby one.
Yes, it comes from Derek Sivers and his indie music distribution company, CD Baby.
That case study is just a masterclass in pattern interruption. It really illustrates the sheer power of doing the exact opposite of what the consumer brain expects.
It really does. So back in the day, instead of sending the industry standard, your order has shipped, here's your tracking link message, CD Baby decided to send this highly exaggerated, incredibly playful story.
It's so good.
I actually pulled the exact text from the source material, and I have to read the whole thing to you because the specific imagery they use is just brilliant.
Oh, please do. It is worth dissecting every single word of it.
Okay, here's what the CD Baby customer received in their inbox. Your CD has been gently taken from our CD Baby shelves with sterilized, contamination-free gloves and placed onto a satin pillow.
Sterilized gloves. I love it.
It gets better. A team of 50 employees inspected your CD and polished it to make sure it was in the best possible condition before mailing. Our packing specialist from Japan lit a candle, and a hush fell over the crowd as he put your CD into the finest gold-lined box that money can buy.
Just incredible imagery.
We all had a wonderful celebration afterwards, and the whole party marched down the street to the post office, where the entire town of Portland waved Bon Voyage to your package.
The whole town.
And it ends with, "Your picture is on our wall as Customer of the Year. We're all exhausted, but can't wait for you to come back."
We're all exhausted. That closing line always gets me. It's so funny.
Right. It's just so over the top.
At first glance, a lot of business owners might look at that and just dismiss it as a silly gimmick. I mean, it is obviously a fictional, exaggerated scenario.
Obviously.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the underlying mechanics of why this worked so brilliantly become really clear. They hijacked the brain's expectation of a boring digital receipt and delivered the short, cinematic experience.
They made the customer the hero of an epic, utterly ridiculous journey.
They did. And by doing so, they signaled to the customer that they weren't dealing with a faceless corporation. They were dealing with creative humans who loved music just as much as the buyer did.
Yeah.
They made the customer feel like their specific order actually mattered. The psychological shift there is massive. People didn't just skim this email and hit delete. They printed it out.
Printed it out. Wow.
Yeah, they forwarded it to their friends. They posted it on early internet forums. All because it did something a system notification almost never does.
It provoked a genuine emotional reaction, like it actually made them smile.
Exactly. It sparked joy in a medium that is usually just reserved for sterile data transfer.
Okay. Now here's where it gets really interesting, but also I have to push back a little bit here.
Sure, go for it.
I hear the CD Baby story, and I immediately think, okay, that is fantastic if you are an indie music company selling art to artists.
Right.
But surely people generally just want their tracking link, don't they? Doesn't all this whimsical storytelling just introduce unnecessary friction?
That's a very fair point.
I mean, if I am buying, let's say, B2B accounting software or just restocking office supplies, I don't need a parade in Portland. I just need to know my credit card went through.
That is a highly practical objection, and this raises an important question. How do you apply this framework if you aren't selling something inherently fun or creative?
Yeah.
The trap is thinking you need to copy the goofy tone of CD Baby. That's not the point. The actual lesson isn't about being funny. It is about understanding the psychology of the before moment.
The before moment. Okay, break down what that means in this context.
Every single action a customer takes online has a narrative leading up to it. You never just randomly sign up for a B2B software service or accidentally purchase a candle or, join an email list in a vacuum.
Right, there's a reason.
There's a specific psychological state a moment before you click that button.
Like, I was trying to solve a problem, I was annoyed by my current accounting software, or I was super stressed out and just wanted my house to smell nice.
Precisely the point. There was a friction you were experiencing, a specific goal you were trying to reach, or a very deliberate, sometimes difficult decision you finally arrived at.
Yeah.
And most standard confirmation emails completely ignore that prior state. They act as if the customer's entire existence began the millisecond they clicked buy.
Which is just not true.
Right. The most effective welcome emails, the ones that build that instant, bulletproof trust, they acknowledge where the person just came from, they validate the before state, and then they act as a bridge, guiding the person into the after state while providing real emotional context.
Oh, I see the distinction now. It's not about inventing a fictional story with satin pillows. It's about honoring the very real internal story of why the customer is interacting with you in the first place.
Yeah.
You are calibrating the empathy to match the product.
Calibration is the perfect word for it. If you are selling that B2B accounting software, the empathetic move isn't a joke. The empathetic move is acknowledging their lack of time.
Oh, right.
The email might say, "We know switching accounting platforms is usually a massive headache. You have better things to do than configure settings all day. So here is the single most important button you need to click to get started in under 2 minutes."
Wow, that's great.
That is still storytelling. The story is just, We respect your time.
Let's actually put this framework to the test, because our sources provide 3 distinct real-world scenarios to demonstrate how this psychology scales across totally different industries.
Yeah, these examples are great.
Let's look at how we validate that before state when we are dealing with a digital knowledge product specifically, a webinar registration.
Webinars are fascinating because the barrier to entry is super low, usually just an email address, but the skepticism is incredibly high. Everyone has been burned by a bad webinar.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The context our sources outline here is a business professional scrolling online, feeling a very specific, quiet desperation. The internal monologue is basically, I'm not getting clients, help.
Right.
They see an ad for a webinar that promises a solution, and they hand over their email.
And in the standard playbook, the autoresponder simply fires back with, here's your link, add to calendar, see you Thursday.
Which completely ignores the desperation that drove the sign-up.
Completely ignores it.
Doing it right requires staring that frustration right in the face. The source gives a brilliant example where the email intentionally pulls back the curtain to show behind-the-scenes labor. It uses phrases like, the team is reviewing real lead generation breakdowns, and they are actively stripping away the noise.
Look at the psychological weight of that specific phrase, stripping away the noise.
It's powerful because it implicitly understands the B2B buyer's cynicism. The email explicitly signals that this session isn't just about throwing 10 new complicated marketing tactics onto their plate.
Right.
The core promise being made is about providing clarity on why their current efforts are failing. It acts as a pressure valve for that I'm not getting clients pain point.
By using the phrase stripping away the noise, the brand is validating the user's fatigue. They are essentially saying, we know you are overwhelmed. We know you are tired of gurus selling you complex funnels. We see the friction. It transitions the user from a state of skeptical frustration into a mindset of anticipated relief. The email isn't just delivering a URL, it is actively preparing the attendee's brain to be receptive to the presentation.
That makes complete sense for a digital service where you are selling expertise and clarity. But how does this translate into the physical world?
Well, let's look at the next one.
Right. So what does this all mean for physical products? A candle is just wax in a wick, right? Like, let's take this second scenario from our sources, purchasing a candle. How do you tell a story about a static object without sounding incredibly pretentious?
To the manufacturer, it might just be wax in a wick. But we have to look at the before state of the consumer.
Okay.
To the person buying it, a candle is rarely just a utility object to create light. A candle is a feeling. It's an atmosphere. It represents a deliberate, necessary pause in someone's chaotic day.
Oh, that's true.
The confirmation email must reflect that exact emotional sentiment.
So you are tapping into the anticipation of that specific atmosphere before the physical object even ships.
The source material provides a beautiful blueprint for this. Instead of a robotic, your order has been processed, the welcome email describes the actual physical process of creating the product.
Okay.
Yeah, it notes how each batch is poured slowly. It describes the moment where everything in the workshop becomes still, the wax setting, the fragrance resting.
Wow, notice how the pacing of the words actually slows down your reading speed.
That is entirely by design. It is a psychological concept known as perceived labor.
Perceived labor.
Yeah. When you detail the careful, unhurried steps required to make an object, you artificially increase the product's premium valuation in the buyer's mind.
That's fascinating.
It deliberately communicates that the candle is handled with intention. It's not just cranked out by a robotic arm on an assembly line. The language reinforces the idea that the candle is meant to make your space feel calm, grounded, and present.
Calm, grounded, and present. Think about what a stark contrast that is to a sterile digital receipt. You are essentially buying a vibe, a moment of peace, and the brand is using the confirmation email to deliver the first digital installment of that piece.
Exactly. And by the time the cardboard box actually arrives at your doorstep 3 days later, that glass jar already carries the weight of that entire process and intention.
Yeah.
The actual experience of consuming the product began the exact moment you read the confirmation email.
That reframing is so powerful, it turns a waiting period into an actual building of anticipation.
It really does.
Let's move to the final scenario from the sources, which I think is easily the most psychologically complex of the 3, a service welcome, specifically joining a gym.
Oh, this one is huge. Services are high stakes, but a fitness service is in a league of its own because the before moment is loaded with an incredible amount of emotional baggage.
Heavy, heavy baggage. The sources establish that signing up for a gym is almost never about just wanting access to heavy metal plates or a treadmill. For the vast majority of people, it is about starting again.
Right. And starting again implies that a previous attempt failed. That brings an element of customer shame into the transaction.
Yes, customer shame is exactly what this email tackles, and the execution in the source example is a masterclass in empathy.
It's so well done.
It addresses those past well-meaning failures directly, but it removes all the judgment. It explicitly calls out the listener's past attempts to get fit. It says things like, you told yourself this is the year, and you truly meant it. You even bought the walking pad.
The inclusion of the walking pad is such a brilliant universal detail. Everyone knows the walking pad phase. It sits under your desk for a week and then goes into the closet.
It is such a specific symbol of abandoned fitness goals. And the email acknowledges that. You planned the routine, you had the gear, but eventually, as the email gently points out, the routine got repetitive. You got a little bored and you lost your motivation because you were trying to do it all on your own.
From a copywriting perspective, doing this is highly risky, but the payoff is immense.
Definitely.
It brings the customer's vulnerable internal monologue right to the surface. It feels like the brand has been reading their diary. It says, we know you've tried this before, we know you feel a bit of shame about stopping, and we know why it didn't stick.
Right.
But then comes the critical psychological pivot. The brand reframes the act of returning to the gym. It tells the customer that paying this new sign-up fee isn't a reminder of past failure. It is undeniable proof of their commitment.
It completely flips the narrative. It takes the shame out of the equation. It isn't you failed, is you are resilient enough to try again.
Yes.
And once that emotional relief is established, it builds a bridge to the new experience. It promises that this time will be fundamentally different because at this specific gym, energy is shared and movement feels different.
It shifts the burden of success off the individual's shoulders. The message is basically, you aren't doing this alone in your living room anymore.
Right.
And notice the architectural structure of the email's ending. It doesn't just leave the customer swimming in good feelings. It channels all that alleviated shame and renewed motivation into a very clear, immediate call to action.
Oh, the group chat.
Exactly. It invites them to join the gym's Viber group right then and there. It creates an immediate low-barrier next step to integrate them into the community before they've even packed their gym bag.
So, in a single automated message, it captures the peak attention of the transaction, validates the highly vulnerable before state, reframes their past failures into a positive trait, and instantly integrates them into a support system.
All accomplished in the exact same automated email slot that most generic gyms would just use to send a PDF attachment of the facility's holiday hours and a list of locker room rules.
It's staggering when you put the two approaches side by side. You really see the wasted potential, the sheer cost of the standard silent cashier approach.
Yeah.
You are actively training your customers to ignore you from day one.
You really are. When you synthesize the underlying mechanics of all these examples, from CD Baby's theatrical satin pillows, to the perceived labor of the slow-poured candle, to the deep empathy of the gym, welcome, the universal law of this deep dive becomes clear.
And what's that?
Never treat a confirmation as a purely functional system message. It is the most expensive missed opportunity in digital business.
You have to define what the action actually means to the person taking it at the exact moment they take it.
Exactly. Acknowledge the friction they overcame to get to you. Continue the narrative they are already telling themselves in their head.
Yeah.
If you can turn a basic receipt into an experience that makes them feel seen, you bypass months of traditional marketing and build immediate, lasting trust.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a challenge, something to really chew on as you go about your day.
Yes. Think about the very next confirmation email or digital receipt that inevitably lands in your inbox today. When you open it, look past the generic tracking number and the transaction ID and ask yourself, what story is this brand telling you about your own decision to interact with them?
Are they validating your choice and welcoming you in, or are they just acting like a silent cashier?
And more importantly, if it is just a blank automated receipt, look at it through the lens of everything we've discussed today. How would you rewrite it to acknowledge the before state and make the experience remarkable?
I love that exercise, turning the silent cashier into an actual meaningful conversation. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it completely changes the way you look at the hidden opportunities sitting right there in your inbox.
Until next time, Keep looking for the human story hiding behind the automated system.
Thanks for listening, everyone.